And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Crypto Show, a show dedicated to understanding the promise of currency, technology, and liberty in the pursuit of a free society. And if you believe, like we do, that such a society can and should exist, then join us, why don't you, as we parade through a world unbound by convention, a world sketched by the beauty of the human artist. Because each and every one of you listening right now is that artist. So for the next 2 hours, let go of your most sacred system of thought and entertain the possibility that maybe, just maybe, everything we've been told about currency, technology, and yes, even that dirty, dirty little word anarchy, is only one part of an ever expanding, ever possible, complex universe of ideas, one that we simply refuse to explore. So what do you say, listeners? Let's do some universe exploring tonight and have some fun while we do it. What? Trying to get me wide and nerdy.
Yeah, you are wide and dirty, but that's a whole other story.
What? That's not what I said. That's not how the song goes. He's calling me fat, I think. He calls me fat a lot in various different subtle ways and not so subtle ways. Well, welcome, guys, to the Crypto Show. This is Sunday, March 20th, 2016, here on Logos Radio Network. And, of course, we are brought to you, as always, by our sponsors, Hill Country Home Improvements and Brave New Books. And don't forget to go to Brave New Books' two websites, bravenewbookstore.com, where you can check out a lot of the line of products as well as upcoming events, and the bitcoinbookstore.com, where you can find over 50 titles on Bitcoin, exclusively on Bitcoin. And I don't know if the Logos Radio Network fundraiser is still ongoing, but even if it's not, please go to logosradionetwork.com and donate. Well, speaking of donations, right before I get to our two guests who are in studio, I want to go ahead and declare that last night's Ross Ulbricht Appeals Fund fundraiser was a success. A bunch of us went downtown wearing free Ross t-shirts, and the proceeds from the shirts went to the Free Ross Appeals Fund. And of course, you can donate to at thecryptoshow.com/free Ross. And more than just donate, you can purchase and bid on items, the proceeds of which go to the Appeals Fund as well. Pretty cool stuff. And we hope to do another pub crawl again, fundraiser, because we find that whether or not we raise a lot of money, we at least have a lot of fun.
Yelling out, yeah, random windows from the second floor.
And running into David Comey, the lawyer that rocks.
Right.
It really was him, by the way. I know you were skeptical.
I know.
He showed me his ID. It was him. So it's a local lawyer. This guy, he wears really long dreadlocks and like a leather jacket in his promo. And he's the lawyer that rocks. I think he's supposedly part of a band.
Yeah, his old gig was, what was it? I don't look like a lawyer, so I can sneak up on him. You know,
like being disarming or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So sneak attack.
Yeah, exactly. It works. I mean, he definitely gets name recognition out there.
But, anyway, his hair was like in the pictures. His hair is a lot darker.
Okay.
And I didn't think it was him, so I just kind of went up to him.
I mean, if people don't
it
take
just
it seriously,
made fun of him. I was making fun of him for looking like David Comey.
But does he just own it?
But he was David Comey.
Well, and what's funny is, and not to dwell on this too long, but I went back up there to prove to Danny that it was him. And I was like, are you David Comey or just a guy who looks like David Comey? And he pauses and says both. And then he shows me his ID. And I thought that was pretty clever. I was like, you're probably not a bad lawyer. That was a good response. Well, anyway.
That or just some random dude that has a fake ID.
Well, I don't know.
Of the guy you're talking about.
Right. Well, I guess if I had dreadlocks too, I was some like white guy with long dreadlocks, middle-aged, I might get a fake David Comey ID. Why not? Yeah. I like to impersonate people. Well, speaking of people, but not people who are being impersonated, I've done better segues.
Yeah.
We have two. Don't agree with me.
That was sarcastic.
Okay, excellent. I'll let that happen. We have two excellent guests in studio today. One of whom has actually been on our show. His name is Jason King. What? Thank you for being here, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you face to face.
Yeah, for sure.
You're
Although I can tell you, this is nothing.
I'm pretty positive we have. And like you said, it was either at, were you at the second annual Bitcoin
I
conference
was
as
not
well,
like
or
I
just
said,
the first?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Okay. I was at the first one, just not as much, but I do remember being there actually, so we did probably meet. Well, good to finally have you on the show in person, and you're not just a disembodied voice anymore. Well, Jason King is the recipient of Don't Mess with Texas t-shirt.
Yes,
and
don't
he's-
mess with Bitcoin.
Oh, Don't Mess with Bitcoin
Don't mess with
t-shirt.
Bitcoin.
That's even better.
Way
Where are we? Where are we?
Yeah, right. This is
What show
Bitcoin
is
land.
this?
Yeah.
Well, it's a Texas Bitcoin show,
Fair,
okay? Well, Jason King joins us today with Dean Masley. Did I get that right?
Yeah, correct. You got it.
Excellent. And
Uh-huh.
both gentlemen are co-founders of Sean's Outpost.
No.
No.
Or no?
No.
Oh, of the new project that they're
Yes.
working on.
Yes, I am co-founder of Sean's Outpost, and Dean is my co-founder at unsung.org, which is a new project. So it grew out of all the stuff we've learned at Sean's Outpost.
Awesome. Okay, that's why when you said he was the co-founder, I was like, I don't ever remember talking to you about that.
Yeah, I've been in the background.
Yeah, when we talked about Sean's Outpost. Well, that's really exciting. Well, let's get to what was the new project called again?
Unsung.org.
Unsung.org.
Being an unsung hero.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's a pretty, I like that, simple but catchy.
Right. We hope so.
Yeah. Foundation name. Well, tell us first, and you've been on the show before. It's been a while, and certainly our listenership has hopefully grown since the last time you were on. And there's people who may not have listened to your particular episode that you were on with us a while back. But tell us a little bit about first Sean's Outpost, and give us a little background for yourself, and then we can also get into Unsung, what that's all about.
Sure. So I was a tech entrepreneur and was at Bitcoin pretty early, like 2010, which makes me pretty old in this space, unfortunately. But a little over 3 years ago, I started getting to homeless outreach. I started getting to people in my hometown in Florida. And when the price of Bitcoin reached $50, which was a huge milestone for currency, there was like all this bickering. That's weird. Like,
What are you
bickering in
kidding?
Bitcoin.
Well, it has long since
Yeah.
ceased. Don't worry.
Right, but the bickering back then was whether this value was real, right? And we were like, you're valuing it at $50, but is it really $50? Like it's
I
just-
remember
it's
those
ones-
arguments,
It's ones
yeah.
and zeros, it's not really. And so like flippantly, I was like, well, you know what? If you give me a Bitcoin, I'll feed 40 homeless people with it. And then it's like,
That is value.
be careful what
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
be careful what you wish for, right? And so like we got like 10 Bitcoins, and so like the first week we placed 900 meals to the homeless.
Wow, that's incredible.
And did a really good job of taking pictures of it, having this transparency of what we were doing, and verifying that this cryptocurrency that was sent was used in this way to feed these people. That really resonated. Surprising to me and to the whole community that idea. Oh hey, like you can send this cryptocurrency with this level of transparency that's not really available before.
Right.
And then so 3 years later, we're 167,000 meals, which lines up with all Bitcoin cryptocurrency.
Wow. 167,000.
Yeah, a little over
That's
167,000. And then we also in the summer of 2013 purchased 9 acres of land in Pensacola, Florida. It's called Satoshi Forest, and our mortgage on that we paid in Bitcoin. And it's a safe space to be homeless in Pensacola. Where it's still pretty much functionally illegal to be homeless in most of the state.
Wow,
They
really?
treat you like a criminal for being poor. So we're going on 3 years. We've got this 9 acres where if you're on it, it's like our oxygen. They can't come and ask you.
Because it's private land,
Yeah,
and
that's
they're
right.
welcome guests there.
Now they've harassed us pretty much nonstop.
You're kidding with the
Oh.
police, or?
Oh yeah, the county. I mean, we've been to court 4 or 5 times over our right to be able to have people camp on private property and not bother about it. Yeah, it's
What is the? I'm just curious if they even have one. What is their justification for even meddling with
man.
that?
They just they go through the gamut. Like it's at first
Anything they can think of, basically.
Well, at first it was a public nuisance. They're like, you're creating a nuisance condition. We're like, actually, when we bought the land, it was like literally a dump site. Like the neighborhood around it had been using it as a legal dump ground. It was on like with crack pipes and needles and stuff.
Wow.
And we cleaned it all up in this beautiful space now. So that all that we did that now. And then it was then we were operating a commercial campground, but we weren't doing commerce, but we weren't charging people, so that's illegal too. And,
You're giving stuff
and,
away.
I
What
mean,
is that? What's
there's-
commercial about
There's
that?
just and they're like, well, like tents or like creating a water permeation problem where the water is not draining into the ground where the tent is. So
Wow.
I mean, like the amount that they've reached to like, and they're still doing it. I mean, we've got some current violations we're dealing with right now.
People's feet on the
Nonsense.
ground is preventing water absorption.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Those
really,
people need to be eradicated.
It's totally insane.
Wow.
The level of, you know, I would have never guessed ever before getting into all this outreach and advocacy for women's rights. I would have never guessed that there was this level of pushback for helping, you know, the poor. I would have never have guessed it. And I think probably most people don't get that.
Yeah.
But
How much
I have,
institutional?
you know, and like in my past, I've done some, you know, some shadier things, you know.
Tell us
that
about
are,
those.
like I've sold drugs before, you know. We did things in college, you know. But never had any problems. Zero problems with police, zero problems with the government. Nothing. No, never. Not one. Like
Well, it's
the
kinda-
first month I started helping homeless people, they were like, yeah, you.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, we've had Lynn Ulbricht, the mother of Ross Ulbricht, on, you know, the founder of the Silk Road.
Lynn's amazing.
She is incredible.
She's just such a great.
She's
strong
Yeah, she's like a
Yeah.
superwoman. I'm pretty sure someone should do genetic tests on her. She's like an ex-woman. But, you know, it's kind of like with Ross. He just runs a website. He gets 2 life sentences. Actual drug dealers that they busted off of the website
so-
get 8 to 10 years.
Okay, so
It's just like that. How perverse it is.
well, in that exact thing, it's like that hits really close to home. So I was in the courtroom where Ross got sentenced.
Cool.
I went to it. Well, it wasn't cool.
Well, not
it was,
cool.
It was
Yeah,
the opposite of cool.
Yeah.
It was. I've never felt so chilled to my bone, like
Hearing that.
hearing what that judge said.
declaration,
It's like how much he was railroaded and how much
And how open
one
she was
gave-
about
yeah,
it,
it's like,
too.
yep, you're totally
Full
screwed.
report.
This is yeah. I mean, he brought in like a mother of a kid who died in Australia, and they couldn't even couldn't even prove that the drugs that the kid died from came from the Silk Road, but it was like drugs that could have been. I mean, it was like the most ridiculous thing. And obviously, it's horrible, right? If
Yeah.
your child overdoses, that's terrible. It's also not Ross Ulbricht's fault. that
Right.
That happened,
Well, let's
right?
talk more about that as well as Sean's Outpost and Unsung on the other side with Jason King and Dean Mason.
Thanks.
Okay, the one that's here in Austin is called Community First Village, and it's kind of a homeless. It's that mobile loaves and fishes. The ones that did it, and it's kind of
That's
outside
right.
of Austin. And they've created this little community with like little trailers and tiny houses and stuff that they've erected.
And that's
they're getting all kinds of shit, but not so
Really?
much from the city because they did it in the outside.
Well, that's what we did too. We did it in the county and not in the
Yeah,
city.
but the neighbors,
yeah,
the
the
neighbors are
neighbors.
the ones that are giving them all the help.
The amount of these neighbors come in, they just make shit up. And like, I mean, they just cuss at us, like, you're ruining our lives. Like, I mean, it's
Unreal.
crazy.
You know-
Unreal.
Yeah, it's one thing if they could point to like repeated incidents where people invited onto the property were maybe like going and vandalizing stuff or robbing stuff, which I doubt obviously
No,
happens.
and literally, in our case, the crime level in the neighborhood went down. Like, in the years, it's gone down because, like, there's not 9 acres where people can go hide in it and do dirty crap now.
Right.
Like, it's, it's
Yeah,
people
that's a really
living
good
there,
point.
Right?
And-
It's not a dump site to do drugs in anymore.
And you
Right.
keep a high standard, zero tolerance.
Oh
too.
yeah, and we get inspected by the state, and we've literally consistently for 2.5 years gotten the highest rating of an inspection from the frickin' state of Florida.
We should talk about that too, just to show that like
They don't care. Yeah, they don't
yeah, I
give a
know
shit.
they just really don't get, even though as much as you're complying and as much as peaceful as everyone is, who is involved in this, they're still trying to shut you down because it's just persecution. And again, another parallel to Ross Ulbricht. It's just a political persecution campaign, and it's just nuts.
Yeah, and what you guys were talking about with like you said, a witness from Australia. They wouldn't even let Andreas Antonopoulos.
Yeah, they said that Andreas wasn't a Bitcoin
He's not.
expert.
He's not an expert.
Literally, they're like, we can, Andreas Antonopoulos is not qualified.
The
to
world's
speak as a
foremost Bitcoin expert is
The word-
not a Bitcoin
The guy
expert.
who literally wrote the book
Yeah.
on Bitcoin. Not you. Not you. Let's get some of our criminal agents that we had working on it, the ones that robbed from the, that stole.
Those guys are qualified to talk
those
about
are
it.
legit witnesses.
Okay,
but
I
Andres
think we,
Antonopoulos, that dude can't
So
talk.
crazy.
Hey,
Oh, we're
Rick,
coming back.
are we? Rick. Yeah, go ahead and bring us back.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show. Again, on this lovely Sunday, March 20th, 2016, here on Logos Radio Network, brought to you, as always, by our sponsors, Brave New Books and Hill Country Home Improvements. And we have the great luxury to speak with two wonderful guests in person, in studio, at the tail end of this South by Southwest week. Jason King, founder of Sean's Outpost, a Bitcoin charity that has been wildly successful, feeding over the past 3 years over 160,000 people, correct?
Correct.
And he has also started Satoshi Forest, which is sort of a refuge. You said it's
Sanctuary.
9 acres homeless sanctuary in Florida that's been helping a lot of homeless people. And like you mentioned, and this is really true throughout a lot of the country, homeless people are treated as criminals in many municipalities, whether it's
Almost exclusively everywhere else.
yeah, literally.
There are, like, the places where that doesn't happen, like, those are the weird places.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, we treat our homeless people like human beings. Like, whoa, that's weird as hell.
You hippies.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's crazy talk. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the rhetoric is always like, oh, the government's there, the state, the city are there. They care about the homeless, they care about the poor. They're working tirelessly to improve their lives. And it's just the exact opposite, of course.
Yeah, they're just like frustrated it exists. They're like, I don't want to deal with this.
And just real quick, what do you think it is? Is it like jealousy because they don't like seeing private sector people doing what they feel is their God-given right?
No, so here's the thing, right? And I think this is real talk on this, right? I think that this is probably a show where I can actually voice this opinion. It's okay. Is it honestly? I believe that it is. It's the biggest fallacy that people have, and when they support the government, right? When you're like, I think the government screwed everything up. They're like, yeah, well, here's the thing, but the government takes care of all the poor people, right? And that's just fundamentally not a true statement, right? So if you have private individuals and organizations that are just blatantly just like shining that spotlight on the fact that what they get to hide behind, that like most people give as the reason that they're okay with the government trampling on their rights and their livelihoods, is that they take care of the poor. If you are, as an organization, shining this huge spotlight on just how ineffective and like just grossly bureaucratic and terrible the government actually is at that job, they get really offended at that. Because you're really reaching into their pocketbook at that point.
That makes sense because like that's the last resort of the government is to say, well, at least we're inefficient and we steal money from you and we inflate your purchasing power away, etc. We send your children and daughters to war, but at least we take care of the poor. But when you contrast it with actual organizations that are actually doing it wildly more effectively and successfully than the government, then you're taking away their last reason for existing.
And that's it. And like credibility. I talk to people about that all the time. Is that whatever your activism is, that's great. Like whatever you're doing, that's fantastic. But in terms of like the efficiency and like effectiveness, pick up a soup label. Like start taking care of homeless people, and take you will immediately get a response from people.
Yeah.
Because they'll like in Pensacola, like my mother was one of those people. She was kind of like when we started sort of having a scuffle with the government of being homeless, she was like, well, I'm sure they'll come around. Like what you guys are doing is good. There's no way they could really have. And then she's now like, fuck the police. Like I mean, she's like really. Sorry, I don't know. Can I say that? I can't say it here.
Not on air, but that's
okay.
That's all right. Happens.
Okay, my bad.
But yeah, and that's great. I'm glad that your mother was a wise woman to realize that, because a lot of people, they just live in this la-la land world of giving the benefit of the doubt to people in government, despite repeated instances to the contrary over and over again. And so that's a really sad situation.
However, if you were probably receiving over half of it in subsidies, they would be all over you like,
oh, yeah.
No,
because it appears like we're actually taking care of them and not you. We're the ones,
Exactly. No, and it's all about appearances with the government. So, well, and you're right. All it really takes is some effective action on the part of individuals. One man can make a huge difference.
Sure.
Just like what you've done just like what you two are going to do with unsung.org that we'll talk about here shortly. It really isn't that difficult. Even at Brave New Books here, for a time we had taken this homeless guy under our wing, and we actually employed him for several months. And we saw a lot of improvement in his life as far as character, confidence, and self-sufficiency. And it was amazing what just giving someone a chance would do, and opening up your heart a little bit, opening up a little bit of your pocketbook and a little bit of your time. So
It's surprising how easy it is to do good, and then like how large of an impact that little effort reaches.
yeah, and so when people, people are sort of, I think, disinclined to help, not because they don't care, but they think they can't do much, but you really can.
Right.
Yes, I think. So, well, let me ask you too about Satoshi Forest. It's a sanctuary for the homeless. Do they have any sort of like skill building or character building activities that they do, or anything, or community activities to help them with their morale, or what goes on there?
So here's the deal. And so sort of the things you're alluding to there are sort of they're kind of this myth about what you need to do to take care of things.
Yeah.
And so what happened is in the 80s, the government started subsidizing how to take care of the homeless. And what they did was they got away from supporting the shelters, and they got away from supporting soup kitchens and feeding. Basically, it's that fallacy that the government fish should pay attention to fish, the rest of his life.
Right.
I hate to break it to you. If you're starving, I can't teach you to fish. Like, at
That's
all. I can't. Like, you're just like, dude, I
That's
haven't
true.
eaten in 3 days. Why do I have a fishing pole in my hand? So, like,
My blood sugar drops. I can't even think. Like, I stopped thinking.
right, and then
yeah.
imagine, compound that with it. You've been sleeping on the street for 6 months. Like, it's just like, so
Maslow's
they've like taken, that's it. It's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah,
They've
that's a good
taken
point.
away, like, the subsidy for the most basic things that you need. And they put it all into these higher things, like, job, education, schooling, things like that. Things that are important, mental health, all that stuff. It's really, really important. But
At the top of the pyramid.
if you can't eat, you can't function in these things. And then so they have, 25 years of results of them being like, well, these other programs we got, we're not getting the numbers in it, we're not having the effectiveness. It's like, oh, I wonder why.
Right.
Like the people that you're putting in there can't eat, they don't have a safe space to be. So what we did was we just created a safe space. Literally just that. It's a safe space. We go and check on people. We have strict code of conduct. There's no violence. There's no drugs. There's no drinking out there. That's just the rules. And we're a one strike and you're out thing on those rules. Everybody's cool. We've never had any incidents with a neighbor. Like the only incidents we've had is like the neighbors coming on and being like bigoted towards the homeless people.
Which is not really anything you can
Yeah,
do anything
we
about. Yeah.
that. But we have a higher graduation rate than any other shelter service
Wow.
in Northwest Florida.
Congratulations.
By like 4 times. Like I think the average is like they do 6 or 7% graduation, and our graduation rate is like almost 30%.
Wow.
So
when
it's
we talked to you before, we were talking about the amount of meals that you provided and the amount of meals that the government provided in your area, and how you were far more efficient than them in terms of how much money that you spent for the meals and how much they spent.
Well, so in the first year that Sean's Outpost was, and we'll get into what happens with our meals and how that's kind of more different some now. But in the very first year, when we didn't have any idea what we were doing, we were just out there also all doing it. We fed 93,000 meals in the homeless in the first year, and then we did it with about $125,000-ish, something like that. And the next highest group that did the highest number of meals fed 56,000. And they did it with like $1.4 million. So they took
Wow.
like half the meals with 10 times more money.
Wow.
And
What
like,
did they
and
do
have
with
like
all that money?
billboards and and everybody loves them and and I'm like,
So it's
this
all
thing-
PR for them if they
It's like
spend the money.
100 times more.
Well, it's crazy. It's this thing that that in the nonprofit sector that there's like no oversight in terms of effectiveness of what you're doing, right? That it's all this like lovey-dovey, you should just give because it's the right thing to do all this crap. It's like, I came from a startups background. Like we have metrics, we have analytics, like like this is what we're going for. If you're moving towards the X, it's good. If you're moving away from the X, you need to stop that behavior. Like
Reevaluate.
yeah, exactly.
And that's
then
what's
you just
missing
don't
from a
have
lot of these other organizations. I
so
guess.
so many of them. And then so that was another thing. We pointed out this inefficiency in the system. They hated that too. Like
Which again is so perverse. It's like you'd think a constructive criticism would be taken well because hey, that criticism is going to allow them to be more effective in helping the poor. But no, it turns into what probably is an ego thing.
And
How dare you point this stuff out?
And so they receive a lot of government subsidies and funds.
Well, there you go.
Grants and things like that. And then so what this is, a lot of people don't realize this, but there's basically this meta charity system, right, where there's these gatekeeper foundations that the government funnels money into, and then they get to decide which organizations actually get that money, right? And so what they do is it's basically like, you know that scene in Batman where they like snap the pool stick and he's like, we got one job opening, like he throws 2 pointed sticks and he's like, whoever's left gets the job. They literally do that with your tax dollars to charities. And so like instead of like, you know, me and you both have a homeless organization and us getting together and being like, hey, how can we work together to do this? You look at me like I'm stealing your money, right? like, and then so you need to beat me down so that you can get more money.
Wow.
And it's so they make it all out of service.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned, guys. Lost that break there.
Wow. Hey,
That's-
Rick, is there any way of turning up? We can barely, we can't even hear when the music is coming back.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's
Just being with him and hearing all this stuff for the first time, that's what got me so into
I think
it.
the crazy thing is that it's like I've been doing it so long, it doesn't even faze me. I come in assuming that I'm gonna get completely screwed over. And
Yeah,
then,
assuming it's going to be a Shark Tank.
right, and then the days when it doesn't happen, I'm like, oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
Instead of all the contingencies.
Right.
Well,
Whereas I used to have the exact opposite. I was like, no, everything's gonna be great. And then I was like, oh, this is really screwed up.
Wow. Well, it's good that you become kind of jaded and cynical. Just so you're not surprised anymore by all of it.
Right.
It doesn't take you off your guard. But a lot of people probably just have no idea about that, so they have a completely distorted sense of how this all works.
Right.
Yeah, that's just.
How do you keep? How can you tell if no one's drinking inside of their little cabin or whatever?
Well, here's the deal, right?
Yeah.
Is that if you are inside of your tent,
Yeah.
drinking a beer,
Yeah.
and you're not causing a problem,
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
a problem. Right. It's
Right.
But we can very easily see if you're outside the public area, that's the problem.
Right.
So,
Right.
It's more just having that state of
yeah, that's it. It's just that it's a code of conduct.
Right,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's whatever point that gets out of hand.
It just gives you
It
the
starts
cards, so-
spilling out of their tent.
Right. And we've had to throw people off.
Yeah.
We had a guy who got in a fight and threatened to burn the whole place down. That guy had to go away.
Wow.
And he was a nice guy. I liked him, but you can't live under a threat of violence either.
Right, of course. Well, you got to enforce.
I mean, we all live under a threat of violence.
But a more immediate,
immediate.
obvious one.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And when we start getting into the app that they've created, that's like steered towards how we can't wait to fight off the city of Austin, because it's going to end up being something like Uber, because
Right,
the city of Austin,
relations with Uber, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna
Think
come
if
after
it's
you
scamming.
guys. They're gonna come after you guys too. They want their piece. And what's the other one they're going after now? Airbnb.
Yeah.
So,
They can't stand it, man.
well,
But
I
there's
mean,
still a
but-
little bit of resilience in the way these sharing economy models
kind
are being
of
built.
like what happened with Uber here in Austin. It sort of comes out of this bookstore, or the people that are here, or Tag. They're the ones that went out there and got the petition signed to get it back on the ballot. So,
Yeah, that's where a lot of the energy.
yeah, bring it, we'll get it knocked out.
Right.
It's so crazy, man. I can't even imagine taking a taxi.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I've
know.
never,
No, I
I've
actually-
never taken
So
this.
actually, the other day, because it was so crazy at South by, we just couldn't. We were trying to get Lyft, trying to get Uber, we just couldn't
Yeah.
get one. We did actually all jump in one, but it was the funniest thing. It took us like 3 blocks. I mean, not very far, right? Jumped out $4, $5, whatever. Everybody was
Jumps out
just
of the car.
Everyone just jumped out left, and then I'm like, guys, this isn't
You
Uber.
gotta
We
pay.
actually have to pay
Yeah.
this man. And the
This guy was so, like,
guy was
anxious.
like, yeah, that happens like every time we get in the car. He's like,
I
literally
know,
have to call everybody back.
I couldn't get used to it anymore
Yeah.
because I would just assume my credit
Yeah.
card had already prepaid.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
What you do is you ask the cabbie to take you to where you're meeting your Uber.
Nice. That's good.
Hey, go ahead and bring it back, Rick.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show. and we are talking with our in-studio guests, Jason King, founder of Sean's Outpost, a Bitcoin charity out of Pensacola, Florida, and Dean Masley, who is co-founder with Jason King of unsung.org. And we'll talk just about exactly what unsung.org is here shortly. And we've been discussing Sean's Outpost, how many people it's fed, over 160,000 people at an efficiency rate over 10 times better than the other leading charity there. Who actually, a huge difference. And what a testament to what people can do.
You gotta say it like Bernie.
It's huge.
It's
Huge. I can't do that. I'm gonna have to practice the Bernie before I might do that if we were here.
Apparently, there's no H in it. It's just
Huge. It's huge. I'll do my Arnold the President's dead. Anyway, we're also talking about Satoshi Forest, a sanctuary for homeless people in Pensacola.
There's a similar model here in Austin with, from Mobile Loaves and Fishes. And it's I forget what it's called, the homeless village east of Austin.
Well,
in Satoshi Forest, we actually wanted to be exactly like that, really, and we actually broke ground about the same time that they did.
Right.
We got hit much sooner with lawsuits than they did. We actually haven't been. We have one tiny home on Satoshi Forest. We had plans to have 40 of them. We actually we completely hit a wall.
And so, are they getting you as far as like permits and stuff and code or what?
It's everything. It's just it's insane. Yeah. They wanted us to submit to say that we were a recreational RV campsite, but to do that they wanted like $15,000 as a development fee, like, just to hold on, just to view the plans and tell us whether or not that would be okay. So it's like literally, and like we've already been to court like 5 times, and so we know that they're gonna say it's not okay. But they're like literally like, well, you just give us $15K, and I'm like, dude, like, you know what we can do with $15,000? Like, I'm not giving it to you for a couple pieces of paper.
Yeah, that would be such a waste. What a scam.
Well, and then we're like, well, you guys can waive the fee because they waived it for Walmart, right? But no, I can't waive the fee. Like, because Walmart needs that $15,000, right?
That's
That's
delusional.
It's insane.
And that's how the regulatory power of the state, aside from all the terrible things it does, it can act discriminately to hurt people that the state wants to sort of persecute and eliminate, and then help those it wants to be buddy with, and that's retarded. $15,000 could feed so many people.
Well, so like right now is that we're and we hope it doesn't end up like this. We have maybe a way around it, but like right now they're basically saying that they changed the land use law and that we can't have tents on our site for more than 30 days, like in the course of a year.
And is this that ecological thing you were discussing?
No, it's literally just some arbitrary change in the development. It was really like a change in the development code.
In response to you guys?
And literally, and this is not a joke, and I wish it was a joke, it's not a joke. Literally, the county government's like, look, there's a simple way. You just like get rid of all the tents, and then you don't have a violation. Like, it's okay if all the homeless people sleep out there in the rain, in the cold, in the mud. That's fine. They can't have.
That's cruel. They're basically they're saying, if you do the impossible, if you do something that would make the whole project kind of pointless, then you can go ahead with the project.
Right. Well, and the thing is that if we're back in litigation with them again, and we won 2 years ago. We've won every case that's been brought against us because it's been ridiculous. And the magistrate had told the county to leave us alone, but they won't find a money. But if our newest plan, which is basically we're applying for a small development like change, and they're gonna, which is only like $800 instead of $15,000. So we're actually having to pony that up, and then hopefully they'll just approve it and it'll be cool. But, like, not super optimistic about that. But anyway, if we get into violation stage for that, they're literally gonna fine us $500 a day, like every day that we have. And as much as I like to be like stand up, like. We'll be gone. I mean, that's $15,000 a month in fines. That's crazy talk.
That is insane.
It's not so.
Well, the cops
what they can do. That's like the fastest way to make a criminal is to
homeless guys can't just chip in and come up with $15,000.
Oh yeah, dude, all the time. That's it.
Well, and how are you able to afford some of these litigation costs? Is that coming from donations?
So we have been unbelievably fortunate in having really, really good legal representation offer their services for opponents.
That's awesome.
It's literally, like the second best land use attorney in the state of Florida is our attorney.
Wow. Well, I think he's the best in my book.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's literally, it's like if he can't get it done, if he can't get it through here,
Nobody.
there's no one else who can get it done. So,
Yeah.
but maybe it works out. Who knows?
Yeah.
Good things do happen sometimes. But yeah, so you might see some crazy Occupy Satoshi Forest style stuff here shortly.
Wow.
Because I don't know what to do at that point. Because
Well, if you do, let us know. We'll have you back on to
Right.
promote that.
Rally
as
the troops.
possible.
because I can't really imagine being like, yeah, hey, you guys gotta leave. Did you guys lose the property? Oh no, we own it. But you guys gotta go. But,
And what would they think too? How would they feel about that?
well, they
obviously?
know. They like we keep everybody in the loop.
Yeah.
And I live in Baltimore now, so I'm not like Mike Kimball, my co-founder at Sean's Outpost. He's the man on the ground. He's really the one dealing with the day-to-day now. He's sort of getting the phone call highlights and sending messages and stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Like just the way they treat it. They don't treat people like humans. Like
Right.
they don't see them as human beings. They see them as nuisance.
Yeah.
It's
That's really sad.
Yeah.
It's like they're like vermin on the land, and they need to just eradicate them basically.
Yeah.
Well, and real quick, we have so much more to talk about. Where can people go to learn about Sean's Outpost and to donate?
Sean'sOutpost.com. Yeah, it's just SEONS outpost.com.
And there's a little QR code there for Bitcoin.
Yeah, we take
donation.
Bitcoin, we take altcoins. I think we put the shapeshift lens up, so you can donate pretty much anything you want to it.
Awesome.
Or you can go to Change Tip and pick any of the Sean's Outpost or any of the other charities.
Yeah,
you forward your tip. If somebody tips
Yeah,
you
we're a default charity
sandwich.
on Change Tip.
Oh, that's right. We've had Kyle Kemper change this bond. He mentioned that. That's right.
we have our set up for a free rock.
Hey,
So nice.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool.
love that guy, Kyle Kemper. We need to get him back on. He's so much fun. Was he real quick? I didn't mean to change subjects, but was he in town for South by?
No, he's in San Francisco.
Oh,
doing
okay.
I just saw him in Miami in January. We were in Hackathon together. He was doing
Cool.
social wallet now.
Yeah, social.
Oh, okay.
And my other co-founder Steven and I were doing an OTC endowment application, and they were doing social wallet at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah, he's a great guy, really smart guy. He gave us a lot of tips last year about how to promote the show and make various improvements. Sharp guy, great guy to hang out with. Hopefully we'll have him on again. We got 2 minutes till break. One thing I wanted to comment on real quick is you brought up a good point earlier about the sort of fallacy that is prevalent about homeless people, and the one that the government clearly subscribes to and promotes, and that's this idea that if you teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. And there may be truth to that in a particular context, but like you said, if you're not fulfilling the basic need of being able to eat and being able to drink, basic survival stuff that
Enough.
But
Yeah,
if you-
supposed to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a pyramid.
Yeah.
If the base is gone, there is no.
it's like building a house out of foundation.
Yeah,
you
it's-
expect
there's
it to
nothing
stand
It's
erect.
all
Yeah.
good.
If you teach him to make dynamite, you can throw that in the water and feed the whole village.
That's true. But the government's going to keep the dynamite and just
Yeah.
kill the villagers.
Right.
But I just wanted to say that that's just an example where the government perpetuates, maybe not necessarily knowingly, a fallacy in part because it's so insulated from new and innovative ideas.
But still, I don't believe that I don't believe it's unintentional because literally we have over 100 years. I mean, like a century's worth of documented scientific research on the correlation between cognition and nutrition. Like, if you don't eat breakfast in school, you're going to fail in school. We have all
Yeah,
that
that's a good
research.
point.
It's already been done. They know that that's true, and they refuse to put that into this situation because it's people they don't care about. So
Right.
it's
Well, okay,
horrible.
I basically agree with you. I don't always go to the intentional part because a lot of people don't like to believe that, but it is true. It's hard to believe. It's implausible that it wouldn't be intentional given all the information that's out there, like you said. And we're coming to break, and I just want to say it's also demeaning because it's like saying people can't take care of themselves once they're given basic survival.
Right.
I think they can. We'll be right back, guys, with Jason King and Dean Masley. Stay tuned.